He was one of the richest men in the city. But one crumpled birthday card from the trash brought his world crashing down. When the name inside stopped his heart, he came face to face with a woman he lost, a child he never knew, and a truth hidden for years. What happened next turned a billionaire's success into the most emotional battle of his life. Before we dive into this incredible story, do not forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon button so you never miss our powerful, life-changing content. I had built my empire from sleepless nights, cold coffee, and the ache of being forgotten. My penthouse glittered above the city, but my heart still felt like an empty room. That morning, rain tapped against the glass, soft and lonely. I stepped out of my car near my office, and a gust of wind pushed trash across the sidewalk. A crumpled birthday card struck my shoe. I almost ignored it. Then I saw the handwriting. To my sweet son, Noah. My chest tightened. Noah was the name Elena once whispered to me, years ago, on a summer night filled with fireflies and dreams. Elena, the woman who loved me when I was broke, hungry, and still wearing failure on my skin. The woman I left behind when ambition turned my heart to stone. My hands shook as I opened the card. Inside, in faded blue ink, it read, "I am sorry I cannot give you more this year, but I will always give you all my love. Love, Mom." The paper smelled like rain, dust, and something painfully familiar. I looked up and saw her across the street. Elena, standing in a worn coat, holding a little boy's hand. The boy turned toward me. His eyes were mine. At that moment, the world I had built with money, power, and pride felt smaller than the truth standing before me. And Elena looked at me, as if she had waited years for this exact second. Elena froze beneath the gray morning sky, as if time itself had caught her by the throat. The little boy pressed closer to her side, his small fingers wrapped around hers. I could hear my own heartbeat, loud, uneven, merciless. Cars moved behind me. People passed. But all sound seemed far away. I stepped off the curb slowly, like a man walking toward his own past. "Elena," I said. Her name broke inside my mouth, with shame, longing, and regret. Tears filled her eyes, but she did not let them fall. Noah looked up at me, quiet, curious, unafraid. I saw my childhood in his face, my stubborn jaw, my restless eyes. Elena lifted her chin, strong in the same way I remembered, from the night she believed in me, more than I believed in myself. "You were never supposed to find us like this," she said softly. The words struck deeper than any failure. I looked at the frayed sleeve of her coat, the worn shoes on Noah's feet, and the birthday card still trembling in my hand. All my billions felt useless. "Is he mine?" I asked, though my soul already knew. Noah stared at me then, and from his pocket he pulled a tiny broken watch, the same watch I lost the night I left Elena to chase success. He placed it in my palm and whispered, "Mom said my father gave this to us before he forgot where home was." My fingers closed around the broken watch, and the cold metal burned like truth. I remembered that night. I had kissed Elena's forehead, promised I would return rich enough to give her the world, then vanished into airports, boardrooms, and years of silence. Noah watched me with calm, wounded eyes, as if children somehow understood the shape of adult failures. "Elena," I said, my voice shaking, "why did you never tell me?" A bitter smile touched her lips. "I wrote," she said. "I called. Your assistants answered. Your success became a wall I could not climb." Each word cut deeper than the last. Rain began to fall harder, dotting Noah's dark hair, clinging to Elena's lashes. Without thinking, I took off my coat and wrapped it around Noah's shoulders. He looked down at it, then back at me. That tiny movement nearly broke me. "I do not need your pity," Elena whispered, "but he deserved his father." I dropped to one knee in the rain, so I could face my son eye to eye. "Noah," I said gently. I forgot many things chasing money. But I do not want to forget another day of you. He studied me in silence, then reached into his backpack and pulled out a drawing. It was of 3 people holding hands, and above the tallest figure, he had written one word: Dad. The drawing shook in my hands, not because of the rain, but because hope felt heavier than grief. Noah stood so still, as if one wrong breath might send me disappearing again. My throat tightened. I had signed deals worth billions, without fear, but that child's pencil lines undid me completely. Elena, I said, looking up at her through the rain. I was a coward dressed as a dreamer. She turned away for a moment, wiping her cheek with trembling fingers. You were the man I loved, she said softly. Then you became the man the world loved. Those are not always the same man. Her words landed deep. A black car pulled up behind me. My driver stepped out with an umbrella, but I raised my hand for him to stop. For the first time in years, I did not want shelter from the storm. I wanted to stand inside the truth. Noah moved closer, his small shoes splashing through shallow water. Are you really my dad? He asked. His voice was quiet, but it split my heart wide open. I nodded slowly, unable to hide the tears now. If your mother will let me, I said. I want to learn how to be. Elena looked at me then, not with anger alone, but with old love buried under years of pain. Before she could answer, Noah reached for my hand, and from the bakery window behind them, a woman rushed out holding a cake box, calling Elena's name with panic in her voice. Then the box slipped, fell open in the rain, and the message on the cake made me go still. Pink frosting smeared across the wet sidewalk, but the words were still clear. Happy 7th birthday, Noah Carter. Carter. My last name. I stared at it, as if 7 silent years had suddenly risen to testify against me. Elena's friend covered her mouth, horrified by what she had dropped. Elena closed her eyes, like a truth she had carried alone had finally broken into the open. Noah looked from the cake to my face, confused by the tears he saw there. You gave him my name, I whispered. Elena opened her eyes slowly. I gave him the name of the man I prayed would come back different. The rain ran down her cheeks, like grief finally surrendering. My knees felt weak. All those years, I thought success would heal the boy I once was. But standing there, I understood something far greater. Money builds towers. Love builds home. I reached for the ruined cake box, then stopped. It was cheap, slightly crushed, made with love instead of luxury. The kind of thing I had once promised my own child would never have to settle for. Noah tugged my sleeve gently. Did you really come back for us? He asked. I looked at him, at Elena, at the broken watch, the soaked birthday card, the shattered cake, and for the first time in my life, I was terrified to answer wrong. Then a voice came from behind me. Sir, the board is waiting upstairs. They said this decision cannot wait. I did not turn around. For years, that voice would have ruled my every breath. Boards, meetings, numbers, power. That was the altar where I had sacrificed everything. But Noah's small hand was still holding my sleeve, and Elena's eyes were still fixed on me, not asking for promises, only truth. The rain had softened now, falling like a whisper instead of a wound. Tell them to wait, I said. My assistant stepped closer, stunned. Sir, this merger could change the company. I looked at the shattered cake, the card, the child, the woman I once loved more than ambition itself. It already changed, I replied. He hesitated, then nodded and stepped back. Elena searched my face, as if she did not know whether to believe what she had heard. I bent down and lifted the ruined cake box carefully, as though it was something sacred. We should not celebrate a child in the rain, I said softly. Noah gave the smallest smile. It was shy, uncertain, but it carried more light than every skyline I owned. Elena's friend offered a trembling laugh. There is still a little bakery table inside. Elena remained still. Then Noah looked up at her and whispered, Mom, can he come? That word, can, felt like mercy I did not deserve. Elena drew in a long breath, her lips parting. her eyes glassy with old pain and new fear. Just before she answered, my phone began to ring in my pocket. It was my mother, the same woman who once told me I had made the worst mistake of my life. The day I walked away from Elena. My hand trembled as I answered. My mother did not greet me. Her voice came sharp, breathless, as if heaven itself had pushed her to call. Do not walk away again, she said. Those 6 words pierced deeper than any headline or boardroom threat. I closed my eyes. Rainwater slid down my face, cold against skin gone hot with shame. How did you know? I whispered. A mother always knows when her son is standing in front of the life he was meant to choose. I looked at Elena. She stood beneath the gray sky, with Noah close to her side, both of them fragile and strong at once. My mother's voice softened. You built buildings, companies, and wealth. Now build the one thing money cannot replace. Home. The line went silent, but the word stayed inside me, like a bell still ringing. I slipped the phone back into my pocket and stepped closer to Elena. I cannot erase the years, I said. I cannot undo the silence. But I can tell the truth now. I loved you before I had anything, and I have never found peace without you. Elena's lips trembled. Noah looked between us, holding his breath, as if his little heart already knew. This moment mattered forever. Then Elena finally spoke. If you walk into that bakery with us, she said, you do not walk in as a billionaire. Her eyes locked onto mine. You walk in as Noah's father, and that means proving love. When life is ordinary, hard, and unglamorous. I nodded, because for the first time, that sounded greater than every empire I had ever built. Then Noah reached for my hand again, and together we turned toward the bakery door. But just as my fingers touched the handle, someone inside stood up from the corner table. And when Elena saw who it was, the color drained from her face. It was Daniel, my former partner, the man who helped me build my first company, then disappeared the same month I lost Elena. He rose slowly from the corner table, his coat neat, his face older, but his eyes still carried the same restless guilt. Noah tightened his grip on my hand. Elena went pale. What is he doing here? I asked. Daniel looked at the floor before meeting my eyes. I came to tell the truth, he said. The bakery grew painfully quiet. Even the woman behind the counter stopped moving. Elena's voice shook. You have said enough damage for one lifetime. A chill moved through me. I stepped in front of Noah without thinking. What truth? I demanded. Daniel swallowed hard, as if every word tasted like ash. The letters, he said. The calls. The messages Elena sent you years ago. My heart pounded. I never got them. I know, he whispered, because I made sure you would not. The room spun. Rain tapped against the window. Soft, relentless, accusing. Elena covered her mouth, and Noah looked up at all of us, lost in a pain too old for a child to understand. Daniel's eyes filled with regret. I told myself I was protecting the company. You were about to close the biggest deal of your life. I thought love would ruin you. My hands curled into fists. But it was not just business, Elena said, her voice breaking. Daniel looked at her with shame. No, he said quietly, it was not. Then he reached into his briefcase and pulled out a thick bundle of yellowed envelopes, all tied with a faded blue ribbon. And the first one had my name on it, in Elena's handwriting. My breath caught so hard, it felt like my ribs might crack. I knew that handwriting, those soft, careful letters, had once appeared on napkins, on little notes in my jacket pocket, on dreams I was foolish enough to leave behind. Daniel placed the bundle on the table, like evidence in a trial. My name stared back at me, from envelope after envelope. Some were stained, some were bent at the corners. One had a faint circle from a teacup, as if Elena had written it late at night, while the world slept, and hope refused to die. Noah looked at the letters, then at his mother. Mom, he whispered. Elena knelt beside him, her hands trembling as she touched his cheek. These are the words I tried to send your father, she said softly, before you were born, and after. I picked up the top envelope, with fingers that no longer felt like mine. The seal had never been broken. 7 years of silence suddenly had weight, texture, and proof. Read it, Daniel said, his voice raw with shame. You deserve to know what she said. I looked at Elena. She did not nod. She did not smile. But she did not stop me. So I opened the first letter. Inside was a single page, written in blue ink. My vision blurred before I reached the second line. I am pregnant. I was afraid to tell you this way, but I could not lose you, without at least telling you, that a part of your heart is already beating inside me. The room disappeared. The bakery, the rain, the board, the city, everything vanished except that sentence. A part of your heart is already beating inside me. My knees weakened, and I had to steady myself against the table. Elena turned her face away, but I still saw the tear sliding down. Daniel stepped back, as if he knew he had no right to stand near this grief. Then I turned to the second envelope, and on the front, in smaller writing, Elena had added 5 words that destroyed me even more. He looks just like you. My hands shook as I opened the last letter, but this time I did not read alone. I sat beside Noah. Elena stood near us, close enough for love, far enough for caution. The words on the page were simple. I never wanted your money. I only wanted your heart to remember us. That was the wound. And that was the cure. I looked at my son, at the woman who had carried pain with dignity, and I understood what success had failed to teach me. A man is not rich because he owns towers, cars, or companies. A man is rich when the people he loves feel safe in his presence. I turned to Daniel. The anger was still there, but I would not let revenge become the final chapter. Leave, I said quietly, and spend the rest of your life becoming better than the man you were. Then I faced Elena. I cannot return the lost years, I said, but I will honor every year ahead, if you let me. Noah slipped his hand into mine. Elena looked at both of us, and for the first time in years, her smile returned like sunrise after a brutal storm. We celebrated Noah's birthday in that little bakery, with a broken cake, wet sleeves, tearful laughter, and more love than my grandest mansion had ever held. Months later, I left the merger, rebuilt my life, and learned that bedtime stories, school mornings, and quiet dinners were worth more than applause from strangers. I was once a billionaire with an empty soul. Now I was a father, a husband in the making again, and finally, a man at peace. Moral lesson: do not trade love for ambition. Money can build a life people admire, but only love can build a life that truly matters.